You down with LCS? You down with LCS? You down with LCS? Who's down with LCS? You down with LCS? You down with LCS? You down with LCS? Who down with LCS?
I can tell I haven't been live streaming in a little while. I ran the wrong countdown, the wrong intro. But good morning. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday indeed. Oh, and happy Independence Day. Like it's in Canada we have our national, I guess, Independence Day on July 1st.
Right. Yeah. It's considered Canada Day, right?
Confederation Day. Our birthday essentially. And I remember growing up, I used to be confused because like all the TV that I would watch is like on American channel. So like July 1st and July 4th always kind of like confused me. But yeah.
Yeah, an extra day off for us, obviously celebrating. And next year, I guess it's the 250th anniversary.
Oh, wow. That's a big one.
States. So, yeah. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of additional celebrations. But, yeah, we got together with family and barbecued and, had a good family day. So always
nice.
Always appreciate an extra day off from work, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So obviously I have a guest with me today, and you needed. I've already pinned Ralph's channel link up in the description. So if you're not familiar, you need to go check out his channel. So every Sunday he drops a video, typically highlighting some great comic books or artists or some information about comic book community or collecting, and I always look forward to, I know Sunday I've got your video to watch, so always look forward to your video, and because you're always showing off great books or great covers or some type of information that I'm learning something when I watch one of your videos. So I always look forward to your Sunday videos.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. It's usually always about something old, like comic book wise. Like I've been a collector for a long time, and I try to cover like a wide spectrum of different topics. And sometimes I'm actually like surprised at how some videos will kind of get more attention than others. Like I did one on Charlton comic books, and I thought my expectations were not that high in terms of like getting like a viewer response, but to my surprise, it's been one of my more popular videos. And which I guess in some ways it does make sense because it does have a long history, and there doesn't really seem to be a lot of videos on Charlton comic books.
Right.
But that I was really happy about that because it was really interesting, like getting some of the comments about how a lot of people really love like Charlton's from the 70s.
Well, yeah, I think it's right. I think a lot of YouTube is, and we were mentioning backstage that you don't read a lot of new comic books. So, and I think there's kind of that modern, people that are collecting modern books and the covers and the 400 variant covers. But then I think there's that group who's collected and is really interested in the Silver, Bronze Age, some of the older books, who are not really collecting the newer books. So I can definitely see why there's an audience for that subject matter, some of the older stuff. So and I know a lot of times when I'm watching some of your videos is I'm seeing covers that maybe I hadn't seen before. And just the different style, a lot of the modern covers to me, and I mean there's still some amazing artwork, but where there's a lot of less action, or it's just a single character with a very solid color background, those type of things. And the covers from Silver, Bronze, even some of the horror, Golden Age, pre-code horror stuff there's just there's a big difference with those those covers. So
yeah, there's Well, there's, I don't know, like this nostalgia, the right word. There's a different feel, a familiarity, I guess. Sometimes it's like just the simplicity of them. Um, and but I also like, I like a lot of like weird oddball stuff, especially stuff that's kind of like obscure or that you just don't see that often because it's like, oh, I've never seen that before. That's pretty cool. And, so for those Charltons, yeah, it was really kind of a lot of fun going through like the different covers from the different genres. Some of them are just crazy. Like the horror ones are just insane, but they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's pretty. I've kind of started looking at some of the covers, pre-code horror covers, and some of the Dope Comics often shows a lot of those type covers. But even just going back and looking through, I'm amazed at some of the, obviously the style and the artwork, but just some of the things that they were doing on the covers back, 50 years ago,
Oh,
well, probably
insane.
70 years
Yeah,
ago at this point. But yeah,
yeah.
kind of you know, a
Like
little bit before their time, I guess, or the things that they were getting away with on some of those covers.
yeah, and like it's no surprise that parents started freaking out. Like um like my kids are reading this. It's like, or what the hell? It's like, so it's no surprise that Comics Code Authority thing came in and kind of put a kibosh on some of these crazy covers. Um,
Right.
but yeah, really cool time period for comic books.
Yeah. Well, like I said, and that's what I really, um, I had gravitated more towards channels that are showing me things that I typically don't collect myself because then I'm either learning or seeing books and covers that I've never seen before. So that's why I always look forward to your Sunday, your Sunday video. Do you have a preview you want to share?
Oh, so
What's this Sunday's
yeah,
topic?
I think this one you're gonna like. It's classic comic panels from the 1960s from Amazing Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. So I've been doing a lot of videos on just covers, and I think somebody asked me in the comments, "Oh, it'd be great if you could do one on like specific panels that are considered to be like classic panels."
Well, okay.
So I ran through like the Marvel 1960s, and there's just so many, and I just narrowed it down to Spider-Man and Fantastic Four for now, and then I think I do like a part two later with other ones. So just 1960s, what I consider to be like classic panels within the stories for Spider-Man and Fantastic Four, and even then, it's like there's going to be stuff that I missed, but I tried to get like the ones that are well known.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I don't right. Spider Man. I think is Spider Man's. Is it his third or fourth appearance? I think is in Fantastic Four annual. One of the early Fantastic Four annuals. Because right there was amazing fantasy, and then
15
ASM one, and I think then he appeared in the
Strange Tales
Fantastic
annual.
Four annual.
So
Right. Yeah.
it was Strange Tales annual number two where he fights the Torch,
Oh, okay.
and it's just like a backup. Well, not a backup story, but it's a story in that annual, which is kind of weird because it was Strange Tales, but it's right on the cover, and it's actually really good short story.
Hmm.
Like,
I have to. Yeah, I haven't
but
read that. I'll have to check that out. I was
yeah,
kind of going through and doing some research of Spidey's all of his early appearances to kind of see, and I know that that had stood out. And in Silver Age too, they were doing a lot of that where they were trying to cross promote some of the
oh
newer
yeah,
characters in different popular books to try to help them gain some steam, right?
yeah. FF did that a lot. Like starting in like I think number 16 when they had like Ant-Man come, appear, and then certainly in the 20s, it seemed like every other issue had like a major like Marvel character appear. Um, but yeah, it's like they call it the Marvel Age of Comics, and it was really like it's crazy when you think about like what Marvel did in 63 and 64. Just insane, insane. Like Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, like the Avengers, X-Men, like so many great characters.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just the amount of new characters that they introduced during that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, those couple years was kind of it set obviously set the ground for the future with all of these major characters. So, but yeah, let's check in. We kind of jumped right in. Let's check in with the chat. See who's joining us this morning. Phil's Treehouse is here. Good morning, Phil. Got to hang out with Phil at Heroes Con just a couple weeks ago. Psychedelic
Oh
is
man,
here.
so jealous of like you at Heroes Con and then saying hello to all the other like content creators and everything. It's awesome.
Yeah, Heroes Con was such it. I went in with some plans of obviously some books that I was hunting, but to do this, I'm gonna do all these different things, and then you get there and you start meeting all of the different YouTubers, and then all your plans kind of go out the window. It falls apart quickly. JSS is here. I got to meet JSS at Heroes, and it's interesting too, right? I guess for the people who didn't attend Heroes, right now they've been inundated with Heroes Con comic book content, video content over the last 2 weeks, the meetups and the stories and the halls and all that. So, I almost feel bad for people that didn't attend because now they're just like, oh, you're gonna get all this content for 2 weeks. So, Comic Mike is here. Good morning.
Oh, hey, Mike.
JSS with the super chat. Thank you so much. We're going to talk a little bit about channel members and that CBC Awards today. Barry's here. Good morning. Just Your Average Geeks. David, good morning. Let's see. Cat Fan is here. Let's see. Wow. Yeah. A lot of people hanging out.
Awesome.
Three Good Nerds. Awesome. I just did a video. Got a great mail call from Three Good Nerds. So definitely go check that out. And I've got Justin's son's artwork in the background that I showed off in that video. American Demon, good morning. Canadian Survivalist is here. Good morning. Let's see. Scrolling. Everybody's saying good morning to everybody. Dan is here. Morning, Dan. Dan's got his new live stream that he does Saturday nights tonight. Definitely go check him out.
Nice.
Trev is here. I know. Morning, Trev. Fanboy Prime was streaming earlier this morning. Yeah, Fanboy Prime and Lady Prime, they were doing a cover battle with Neil and Robin this morning. I caught a little bit of that. Let's see. Scrolling, making sure Rich is here. Good morning, Rich. Sure, I think we got to the bottom. JSS is sharing links or asking to share links. So if anybody's got anything important, I have our guest link pinned at the top. So if you're not familiar with Ralph's Retro Comics, definitely go check him out. Enjoyable channel to watch for sure. But yeah, so we've got some topics we're going to get into, but wanted to shout out my channel members. Appreciate the channel membership. Helps fund things like StreamYard and some of the other expenses that running a channel. I can't and StreamYard changed again since last week. It looks like they've done some updates and moved some stuff around, so they're doing stuff. But definitely want to recognize the channel members. Appreciate your membership. CBC Awards still ongoing. We're about halfway through the nomination period. Nominations wrap up August 2nd. So if you haven't nominated, please get those done over the next couple weeks. Last I checked, we're getting close to 300 nomination ballots in. So nomination part of the CBC Awards is most important because it's obviously the basis that we select the finalist for. So if you can please make sure you nominate your favorite channels creators in the CBC Awards. I would appreciate that. And like I said, that wraps up August 2nd. I have to do an update. I haven't updated since last week. I have to update the nominations list of any of the new nominations that have come in. So I'm going to do that this weekend. So I should have that done by tomorrow. Just been a little bit of a busy week with short week at work, and then 4th of July yesterday for us here in the States. So, and then, too, it seems like, so we were talking backstage about Jim Shooter. He recently passed away, and he was supposed to be a guest at Heroes Con. And just a few days prior to the event, they said he wasn't going to attend because of health concerns. And then, I guess almost about a week later, we found out that he had passed away. And you actually broke your one video a week rule, and actually put together a short little video about talking about Jim Shooter.
Yeah, and I think just because like Jim Shooter was editor-in-chief kind of during my formative years of comic book collecting, and one of the first comic books that I read was written by Jim Shooter, and it's like Avengers 165, where they fight Count Nefaria and they get their butts whooped. And I think that's what kind of like it was such a fun, great issue. And also it hit kind of hard, like and because we had our holiday, it's like, what, maybe I'll just put a quick video together. One of somebody sent me a comment as well too, saying that, like, letting me know that Jim Shooter just passed away and that I'd like do a video. And I thought about like maybe putting one together and publishing it later, but I thought, oh, you know what, I have the time, I can just kind of speak off the cuff. And and like in the past, like if you look in the past few years, we've had a lot of like giants in the comic book industry pass away. From, I remember when like George Perez passed away, and around the same time like Neil Adams did. I mean, George Perez was, from what I understand, he was sick for a while, but Neil Adams was very sudden.
Yeah, the
And
Neil
then,
Adams was, I think, kind of unexpected, right?
yeah. And then like even more recently, like Butch Guice and Peter David. So it's
Right.
like it's sad, but at least they've left a really enduring legacy with their comic books. And yeah, I understand Jim Shooter didn't get along with everyone, and he certainly rubbed some people the wrong way, but he did a lot of good for Marvel during that time.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah. No, I mean, right. You think of, I think I remember him, or my first memory is that, the Secret Wars, right? The Secret Wars series and everything around that in the mid 80s. So.
Yeah. And if you ever get a chance, like his blog is still up, and I've mentioned that a few times. And so I was kind of like reading some of his entries, and like he's such a good writer. Like even his blog entries I found are really kind of captivating, and he was telling some really fun stories about his interactions with other artists and talent. There's one where I think Jack Abel was sick, recovering from a stroke, and he was an inker at Marvel, and so like he went to go visit him with somebody else, and at the hospital. I know it's kind of really awkward, right? And then so when somebody just had a stroke, you're at the hospital, like what do you say? And then Howard Chaykin walks in, and he goes, "Oh, Jack, you're a shitty inker anyways, man." And like he just starts tearing into him, and Jack starts tearing back into Howard Chaykin, and like Jim was like, "Oh, thank you, Howard, for like doing what you did to really bring his spirits, for doing the bringing his spirits back up," which is, yeah. So I thought that was like a really funny story. So he's got like kind of funny stories like that,
Yeah, I
about
have to look at it. I don't think I've seen his blog before. It would be interesting though too, right? You think of the Marvel offices, when all of the creators were like in an office in New York City, that would be like a primetime reality show today, right? Having
Oh
them
yeah,
all
yeah,
together. And,
yeah,
obviously over the last, couple years, obviously with COVID, I think was the big, big factor where people were working remotely and really just technology from a digital standpoint of being able to scan and send art and things like that. We're well past the days where everybody's kind of in the bullpen, right? That's what they always talked about, being
yeah.
together. Yeah,
They go out for lunch, they they talk about everything, and
right.
so yeah, it was an interesting time, a different time, and so it just feels like with his passing, it's like, oh, that kind of era of Marvel Comics, But yeah, and like, he did other awesome stuff after, like at Valiant, and which was a kind of a rebirth of all those Gold Key characters like Solar and like Magnus. I didn't really read his Defined stuff, but you know, he was like a creative force. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I guess like you said, that's a good, the legacy, we'll have his stories, that will live on. So which is good, obviously. But it's interesting. I feel like, and I don't, maybe it's just my Instagram feed, but it seems like since his announcement of his passing, we've had, outside of comic books or maybe some comic book adjacent, actors, and there's been a lot of passings of the Michael Madsen, who are,
Michael
from,
Madsen, yeah.
yeah, and then I'm drawing a blank. It was, is it McCullen? He played actually Doctor Doom in one of the previous Fantastic Four movies, an actor, and
Oh,
he just recently passed, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, from cancer. Is it Ian McCullen? He played Doctor Doom in
in one of the FF movies.
one of the FF movies, yeah, and he was battling cancer. It just seems like there's been a flood of passings of actors and artists and things like that since the Jim Shooter announcement of his
Mm.
passing. There's been like this past week, it seems like we've lost a lot of different people.
Yeah, like Michael Madsen too. Like he was still fairly young. Like he was only like 63. Like,
Right.
and
Yeah, the actor, I have to look. He was in Nip Tuck as well, and he was like, I think, in his 50s, and he was dealing with cancer as well. What is I think it's Ian. Maybe I'm, but I like I said, it just seems like we've had a string of recent passings, which is unfortunate. So,
mm. Oh, Trev, I see that. Oh, sorry
oh,
to hear that
Trev,
your
I'm so
dad passed
sorry.
away. Oh,
Oh, I know Trev has been his dad has been sick for a little bit, and I know that's
mm,
been taking up a lot of his time. But sorry to hear that. That's, yeah.
mm.
Having lost my dad years ago, I know never easy to lose a parent. So
Yeah. My dad's in his 80s now, and like he had a stroke a couple years ago, and we thought that was going to be it, but he's a battler. He's he's hanging in there.
well, that's good. That, yeah, because a stroke and certainly when as you get older, your recovery time is you just don't recover as well as you
Yeah,
would when you were younger. So
yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's bad news, Trev. So sorry to hear that. Um, but yeah, so maybe we'll try to transition to our we were talking a little bit backstage about some of the movies and TV shows. I know Ironheart is probably the only comic related um, show that's out there right now. And there's been some pretty interesting thing. I've heard great things about it, and I've heard really bad things about it. Kind of no in between. It's either people love it or hate it. I watched the first 2 episodes of Ironheart. I want to watch. I know they dropped it 3 week 1 and then 3 week 2, which I think is only six episodes. But I want to go back and actually rewatch. I'm just going to watch them all straight through and see, what I thought of it. What I know, watching the first 2 episodes, I thought it was well done from just a production value. Like it looked good. The acting was done well. Special effects looked good. There was some very I thought the soundtrack was really good. So I want to kind of give it a full run through and see what I think overall. And I think there's been, I don't want to spoil it, but there's rumors out there of a character that has been rumored to be in a number of different series or movies. He finally makes his appearance in this as one of the villains. So
yeah, I haven't started it yet, but I will get around to watching it. I don't think I've missed any Marvel series, although I didn't fully watch the Miss Marvel series. I remember because that one was more geared towards like younger kids or teens. But like there was Daredevil Born Again, and it was okay. Like
it had
it
its
wasn't as good
moments,
as
right? It was I
yes,
felt like it was inconsistent. Like there were some really
yeah.
strong moments, and then there were just some like, what are they, like the whole episode where they're in the bank robbery kind of felt like,
Actually, yeah. I actually kind of like that episode as a standalone episode.
right. It
Like
was fun, but it kind of felt
yeah,
out of place in the overall
it
series. Yeah.
yeah. It
Yeah.
it certainly felt like a filler episode. Like it's just um it did seem out of place, but and I did like seeing Matt Murdock as the lawyer. Um but I thought that they went through some of the villains maybe a bit too quickly. Like Muse was fairly abrupt.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I get it that the Kingpin is the overarching villain of the story, but I don't know. The ending of the season was okay, but it wasn't as I don't know. Maybe because of the differences, maybe because I thought it might be it was going to be closer to what the story was in the comic book. If I wanted more of that, but you know, I guess my expectations were really high going in for Born Again. But all the actors and actresses in it were great.
Yeah, definitely well acted. I thought the
Yeah,
Punisher storyline was a little strange too. How it ended at the last episode with his storyline, and I felt like they kind of misused him a little bit. I mean, it was good to have
yeah,
him back, but that
yeah,
was kind of a strange storyline as well.
yeah. But yeah, but it should be a good summer. Like we were talking about some of the movies coming up, like Jurassic Park this weekend. I imagine that's going to be huge. Um, and then like Superman, and then Fantastic Four, and it's like, oh, please God, please Fantastic Four be a good movie, right? Oh, it's like,
Well, it was funny. I mentioned so my wife and I were watching, some of the trailers and she watches some of the series. She doesn't watch everything. She's a good sport. She'll come along with me to the movies. But I said, all right, we've got Jurassic World, we've got Superman, and we've got Fantastic Four. I'd like to go see all three. I said, what about you? And she's like, she was only in for Superman. She's like, Fantastic Four. She's
oh,
like, nah. So in Jurassic World, we kind of feel like I'd still want to see it on the big screen, but we both feel
yeah,
like it's been, what else are they going to do in this story that we haven't,
yeah,
how many times are we going to go back to this island? We know the island's bad. Nobody ever,
yeah.
nobody ever
Well, when are they
lives
going to
when they
learn their
go to the
lesson?
island. Stop going to the island.
How
So,
many
but
people are going to get like chopped apart? Yeah,
yeah. But then Superman, she was like, oh no, I think I want to see that. So my worry for Superman is that what I've seen in the trailers is that there's so many different characters that
mm,
I wonder how they're going to tell that story. because there's so many, we've got different heroes, we've got different villains, you've got Lois Lane, you've got Lex, you've got all of the Daily Planet. So I'm worried that they're going to try to cram too much in and I don't know what I guess the runtime is. I haven't heard the runtime. I'm assuming it's probably a little bit over. It's got to be at least 2 hours minimum, if not more.
Yeah. And like from the trailers, it seems to be a bit more serious. Whereas you look at the other DC gun movies and they haven't been really. So I'm kind of curious to see what kind of take that's going to be. I don't know if you saw the last Suicide Squad movie, but I thought that was hilarious, and it felt like a James Gunn movie.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah. I did see the Suicides both, and yeah, they kind of a little bit lighthearted, kind of goofy type.
Yeah. Whereas like just from the trailers from Superman, it seems more heavier. I don't know, but I mean,
well,
glad that
I
they
think
kept
you
going
even
there.
see it right in the clip that we see of the interview with Lois and Superman, and she's questioning some of the things he's done, and did he get permission, and is he, so yeah, it definitely seems like it might have a more serious tone to it than what we've seen in past. I'm sure it's no. What was it Superman 4 with Richard Pryor? I'm sure it's not going to be.
Wait. I think that was Superman 3. Yeah,
3?
with
Okay.
Richard Pryor,
Yeah.
which is just weird. I don't know, for lack of a better word. I mean, I like the first two, and Superman 4: Quest for Peace was pretty forgettable. I think they ran out of money while they were filming that one, so you could really kind of see where the drop off in production quality happens in the movie. But yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm excited. Uh,
Yeah, should be
it's
and that'll be interesting as as both Superman and Fantastic Four get released. There'll be the box office comparison between the two, and I'm almost wondering if Jurassic Park won't make more money than both of those movies because of the the long track record with Jurassic. I took a quick peek but this morning, and I think Thursday, I guess no Wednesday, I guess Jurassic Park opened, maybe some previews. It looks like it's pulled in 2 days about 55 million, but that didn't include yesterday's and obviously this weekend. So it looks like it's off to a pretty good start.
Yeah, I figure it's gonna do well. That franchise has always done well. Everybody loves dinosaurs, man. It's
Yeah.
it's easy.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's the movie that is it PG? I'm sure it's rated probably PG-13 because of the violence, but you'll get a good cross section of people that'll go, younger kids because of the dinosaurs, and then older people that have, been with the franchise for a while. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. Let's see. Good morning to Bleecker. Christina joined us. We had a few others. Mike joined us. Good morning, Mike.
Oh no, already seen it?
Yeah, I saw a bunch of people said they went to. Yeah. All right. So Mike is saying, yeah, I saw a bunch of people posting some stuff up on Instagram that they were going to see it. So Roscoe, good morning, Roscoe. I'm not sure if I said good morning to Roscoe. I mean, I think I typically don't expect a lot out of that's just a summer action type movie. I don't expect a lot of I'm there to see the special effects and the stunts and the
dinos,
the craziness.
Absolutely.
I'm not expecting much from the story. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And I think we covered all of everything that we wanted to talk about from at least the topics that I put together.
I did bring some comic books to show and maybe talk about.
Oh,
So
okay.
happy to do that
Why don't we
because
show and
because
tell?
this is like Saturday morning and cartoons, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
I mean,
so
why don't you StreamYard's being weird. There we go.
oh, there we go. So the first one is a Looney Tunes
Oh,
with Bugs Bunny. And this is late 40s, 52 pager. And like I would never get tired of this when I was a kid, especially the Bugs Bunny stuff. Some
oh
of the
yeah.
other stuff, like the Pepe Le Pew stuff or some of the other stuff, it's like, that's okay. But the Bugs Bunny stuff, 100% I could always watch. To me, he was like the Spider-Man of like Warner Brothers. Like,
Yeah.
didn't matter, you know, what the cartoon was about, and I'm like, do kids these days even know about Bugs Bunny? Which I think is a shame. And I understand like some of the older like Bugs Bunny cartoons or even like the Warner Brother cartoons, they haven't aged very well because they're no longer considered, I don't know, like politically correct or whatever. But I love that stuff. I love that stuff growing up. And um, I feel like it's a shame that if kids don't know about it or haven't seen it, they should. Um, like the Foghorn Leghorn ones,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
as well that I really liked. And the Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner ones, they get a bit repetitious after a while because but never get tired of Bugs Bunny. So that's one, and then
Yeah.
another
Those
one.
were some of my favorites. Watching as a kid, I could watch you could see the same episode or just over and over again, and
Oh
you
yeah,
continue to watch it. It was just so much
yeah,
fun.
you know, and another like cartoon series was Tom and Jerry,
Yes.
but the older Tom and Jerry stuff. So there was like a period of time where I don't know if it was in the 70s where they were like buddies and I hated those.
What?
but but the ones from like the 40s and the 50s where it's like itchy and scratchy. Like
Right.
literally, like some of the episodes are like itchy and scratchy and the level of violence is just it's something else, but they were so much fun. They were so much fun and I kind of miss those.
But
Like
it was it was so exaggerated cartoon violence that like I don't I'm sure there were people that would complain about it, but I don't I never had the thought of okay, let's go try that. Let's go get the hammer and the like
yeah.
it was so over the top that
Yeah. Like and so I think I even had like a VHS tape full of like Tom and Jerry like episodes that I would just like watch all the time. And yeah, those were great. And next up is a Hanna-Barbera, one of these series from the 70s called TV Stars. And it's got three cartoon features: the Herculoids, Dino Mutt, and Space Ghost. And like I think I showed this in another one of my videos, and somebody let me know that the Space Ghost stories is actually drawn by Alex Toth, which is something. And so I like I think you've mentioned Space Ghost in some of your episodes, Brian, and like he's had a bit of a renaissance.
yeah, so
He's
they've been doing a new series and actually Dynamite's putting it out, but actually Dynamite's had some issues with the whole Diamond. So they're a lot of their books have been delayed over the last few months, but they did a great the new Space Ghost series, and the artwork has been really really great, and then some great covers. It's been fun to read that, but like I said, I don't know what I think Dynamite is now looking for a different distribution avenue because of the whole, diamond thing going on.
yeah, that's yeah. I don't know if that'll ever get figured out. I think I saw some headlines like some people are not getting paid, and so it's starting to look kind of shaky how that'll eventually kind of work its way out.
Yeah, my
Mm.
local shop was trying to hold out, and with Diamond, he was a big Diamond supporter, but it was just he had just weeks and weeks of delays, and he finally transitioned to Penguin for Random
Okay.
House for his books because it just was causing too much of a disruption, with new books for him. That he's like, I have to, I can't, I won't survive if I continue to, um,
Mm.
so which is unfortunate, but
All right. Next up is Johnny Quest. Did you ever watch this like growing up?
I watched some of it. I wasn't the biggest, I was aware of who Johnny Quest was and watched it occasionally, but was never not like one of the shows that I would regularly watch.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how this came out like in the 80s, but I remember watching it in the 70s, and like the theme song was just like the best. But I also remember like some of the episodes would actually kind of scare me because they had some pretty like freaky monsters, and the the soundtrack they always had was always like really intense.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, Johnny Quest. Um, and I don't. This is kind of like an obscure series from the 1980s, and it's called The Visionaries. And I remember
Hmm,
watching this
I don't
on
know that one.
Saturday mornings as well too. And so like I'm always hesitant to go back because a lot of these like cartoons are available on YouTube now. You can just kind of like do a search and watch them. And I'm always nervous about going back and watching these because I think, oh, they're just gonna ruin my really fond memory
Your memories, yeah, yeah, that's true.
of them, right? And surprisingly, like I went and I watched like the first two episodes of this, like recently again, and it's like, oh man, these are still good. It was so like because like some of the other ones like uh like Battle of the Planets, oh like G-Force. I used to watch that after school all the time.
Oh yeah, I loved G-Force. Like I caught G-Force like at a friend's house. Like went to a friend's house after school, and I think his like older brother was watching it. And I'm like, "What are you watching?" And I first got introduced, and then I was hooked. I was like, "Oh, this is the greatest show ever."
Yeah, yeah, because it was like continuous as well too. They had like a well, kind of a vague kind of like overarching story arc. Uh, but like I went to go back and watch some of them, and it's like, I should have left that one. I should have left that one alone. That memory alone. Like,
Well, and I think too the '80s, right? There were a lot of some of the companies were seeing success with toy lines, so there was like
yeah,
a lot of shows that came out just to support, the selling of toys. So,
yeah. Like Visionaries, the one that I showed before was actually like a toy line as well too. Um,
oh, okay,
but
I didn't know that. Yeah,
yeah, but
that one I don't
it,
remember for some reason. I don't. That doesn't
it
ring.
had a pretty like yeah. The premise is a little weird, but I just remember the stories were good, and I was surprised. Like when I went to go back and watch it, like I remembered like the series premiere, and I still remembered like some of the tests that these knights had to go through to get their kind of like banner of power. So that was pretty cool.
Well, somebody
And
mentioned Dungeon and Dragons, so I'm assuming it was kind of a dungeon.
it
Was it
definitely had a
Dungeon and
fantasy.
Dragons type themed show?
Yeah, definitely had a fantasy theme to it.
Okay,
Um, like there were basically two camps, like a good side and a bad side, and they had these kind of banners with kind of like animal symbols that they can kind of dip into this magic pool and then gain these kind of like powers, but they have to recharge them every once in a while. But
okay.
yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Now you
And
haven't
then
gone
I don't
down. I know you have a lot of comics, but you haven't gone down the. Have you gone down the toy rabbit hole of trying to collect some of the
no,
toys? Okay.
um, not so much. Like it's well, I mean, like thankfully, like I barely have enough room for my stupid comic books. But like if I ever like went the toy route, my wife would go absolutely insane on me because this is bad enough as it is. Uh, Uh, but I have a handful, but not many. Um, I think the coolest thing I saw, like in the past 2 years, because there is a comic book store, toy store, somewhat close to where I live, and they actually had the original ROM in box, like,
Oh, okay.
and I had never seen that before. And I thought, and it was expensive. I can't remember how expensive it was, but but I thought, holy crap, this is like one of the Marvel Grail toys of the early, because you never see that like
Right.
in the
Right.
original box, like the Minton box, but however they say it. But I thought that was one of the coolest things. And like, it's I'm amazed at how big toys have become in terms of how popular they are with collectors and everything. Like certainly all the Star Wars stuff. Um, but and it's nice to see. I remember, like, growing up, I had Secret Wars figures. They
Oh, yeah.
were they weren't the greatest figures. I remember that.
Yeah, no, they were not a lot of articulation for sure. Yeah.
No, yeah, and I had a Doc Ock, I remember, and the tentacles fell off at some point because
Right. They
they weren't
didn't.
flexible. They were just attached.
Right.
And like, with your toys, you're always like beating the crap out of them. Um, but yeah, so that's the the toy thing. I think it would be really cool to have some, especially like, you see some of the figures they have these days. There was one, like, Brian, that I remember came out a while ago. It was a Spider-Man figure that had like over 100 points of articulation, and I thought, oh man, if there's one kind of figure that would have been cool to have, it's that one. I don't know if they. I'm sure if you could find it on eBay, but I always thought
Yeah,
that
there's
one
a
was.
number of some really detailed action figures, but yeah, so, and Spider-Man being one of them. But yeah, I tried to avoid that as well because I'm like, if I go down that rabbit hole, yeah, just comics is enough.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I don't know if you
Okay,
remember this one, Cops,
I don't
and
remember.
this was, I think, more of an after-school cartoon, and this came out in the later '80s. Um, but I thought this was kind of a fun. Like, this was, the time where, like, Transformers. Maybe this is a little post Transformers, GI Joe, when those were like very popular cartoons, but maybe a lesser known animated series. Um, and this was also like a toy line too with DC, because that was the thing to do back then. But I thought it'd be kind of cool to show that.
Yeah, I don't remember that one. The only cops I remember is the police officers tackling the bad guys on Saturday nights, that TV show.
Oh yeah, Bad Boys, Bad Boys.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. Oh man. And I wanted to show one more thing, which I thought was pretty cool, and because
ASM.
I went on a little vacation trip to Quebec with some family, and I was able to find this at a kind of like an antique store, and it's the French version of Spider-Man, L'étonnant Spider-Man, and as well, this reprint's like one of my favorite covers issues, like the Amazing Spider-Man number 144. So I thought this was really cool.
I have one
Definitely.
here in my stack. I haven't actually. Dope Comics gave it to me. It was the Italian version of the first appearance of Craven. I'm trying to find it here in my stack. Yeah, it was the
Oh
first
yeah, yeah.
foreign book that I've seen. Where is it? It's right here somewhere. Oh, I got too many books I need to organize.
Don't we
Let me see.
all?
It's here
Don't
somewhere.
we all? But yeah, it's like I think they published these a few months offset, or maybe a little bit longer from the original series.
Right.
And
Oh, here.
um,
So this is. Let me do this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this is the Italian version.
Does that translation even work? L'uomo ragno? I guess ragno means spider.
I
Spider.
believe so. Yeah. And Spidey, you look at Spidey. He's like he seems a little shorter and a little thicker in
Yeah,
that cover.
they like com
They like
they
compress them.
compressed them a little bit. Oh, that's cool. I like
Yeah,
foreign editions are pretty cool,
and
and
it's interesting
it's
too. Flipping through the book on the interior, some of the pages were in black and white, and then like every 4 pages there would be a color page. Yeah, it was kind of strange flipping through it. I'm like, what? You know, I figured it would, typically there um, would be in black and white, but they were. It was like every couple pages was a color page. So
Mm,
yeah,
okay.
interesting.
Yeah, it's these are cool because as well they have no ads, and so they end up filling in with like another random story from other publishers, or typically Marvel, but sometimes like really random stuff. Um, and I'm gonna do like a future kind of like catch up comic haul video where I talk a bit about some of this stuff. Um, there was one issue that I have that has a reprint of a Charlton comic book. Like
Oh, okay.
it's Marvel, but somehow they threw in like a Charlton, like, so I'm not even sure how they managed to get this done, but I thought that was really kind of interesting. But yeah, like foreign editions, they're pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, no, they definitely are. I've seen a number, and obviously, I think Spider-Man and some of the other popular characters back in the day would be more frequently reprinted in other languages. I've seen a number of different, so French, Italian, Spanish versions of Spider-Man. So
Cool, cool.
pretty interesting. Morning, Pocan. Matt is here. We got some other people joining us. Callie joined us. John with the new name. John's Comics with Friends. Recently changed his channel name. Good to see everybody this morning. Was that it? That was the last book you had to show?
Yeah, yeah. Just some nice Saturday morning cartoon stuff. Like
Yeah.
that's it's funny because like I guess kids don't really have that anymore, right? Because it's all they can watch cartoons till their heart's content on demand on their tablets and phones
Right.
and whatnot.
Yeah, no,
But
I remember, getting up probably in some cases sometimes earlier than my parents, like on a Saturday, grabbing myself
yeah,
a bowl of cereal and sitting down in front of the TV and would basically, if I got up at 7 or 8, whatever time it was, and then just basically you could spend the whole morning,
oh
to like
yeah,
almost lunchtime watching, various,
yeah,
cartoon shows.
yeah. And like growing up, like my parents were really strict on how much TV that we watched, like especially during the week.
Right.
So I'd always like make an excuse to go to my friend's house and watch cartoons in the afternoon. But Saturday morning was the exception, and so we were just planting my butt down in front of the TV and
Yeah.
watched cartoons till my heart was content.
Yeah. Yeah,
But yeah, like
I'm the youngest of 5, and so my parents at that point were done. They're like, "Yeah, you go watch as much TV as you want."
my younger brother was like that as well too. He was just, at that point, it's
Yeah,
like, okay,
you
that's
get
enough.
less strict, with the old, the younger kids.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like there were times like I love Scooby Doo on Saturday mornings until Scrappy Doo was introduced, and then I thought, oh, this is crap. But still, I mean, like there were certain cartoons from back then that, I think it always seemed like towards the end of the morning they would have like your Merry Melodies and your Tom and Jerry stuff. So I really that's the stuff that that I remember like really well.
Well, and
Uh,
and even after school, right? I mean, you would have a block of from like 2:30, 3 p.m. till 5 or 6, and now it's all kids don't have that today. It's
no,
more, I mean, talk shows and news, early news, and things like that. But I remember, after school being able to catch up on shows. That's where, like I said, first introduced to Battle of the Planets.
mm.
Inspector Gadget, I remember that was a big
Oh
one,
yeah,
like after school,
yeah,
Inspector Gadget. So
oh yeah, good
yeah,
times.
just
Yeah,
everybody's on their phones looking at watching, and I don't
I
know if
know.
if kids these days have the attention span to watch a full like 22-minute episode of a show, right?
Oh
Yeah, Flintstones.
man,
Flintstones was another one. We used to always watch the Flintstones.
that
What
to
do
me
you?
was like a lunchtime one because I do remember like running home because this was a time as well too when we were able to like go home for lunch because I didn't live that far away from our elementary school. And I remember at noon they had the Flintstones. Like you could watch an episode of the Flintstones and like um every every lunchtime I would go home and watch the Flintstones. Oh, yeah. So it was um
Robotech, another one. Yeah.
a magical Robotech. Oh yeah, on yeah. That one though, I remember I felt like if you missed an episode of that, like it felt like you could fall behind with the Robotech stuff. Uh, and I still like watching cartoons. Like it's a so lately what I've been watching is catching up on Invincible. And I don't know if you've watched much of that,
Oh,
Brian.
I have. Yeah. Yeah, that's been fun.
Yeah,
That's been enjoyable. I honestly didn't know much about the comic perspective. I didn't know much
yeah,
about the story when I started watching um the series. But wow, that was I was instantly hooked. Like um
yeah.
yeah,
It's
that series has been well done.
it's like like from the comic book side, it's such an unusual comic book that it keeps on like you would think like the animated series is the same as well too, in that you don't think they'd be able to maintain the pace of drama of stuff that happens, like the crazy stuff that happens
Right.
in
Right.
in the animated series, but it does, and like the comic book as well too. It's like it's never a dull moment,
Right.
um, and
Well,
and
and
like
that's what like the series was kind of, the first couple, I mean, it was pretty, violent, but it kind of hits that other level when Invincible's dad, you realize what he's truly there for on
yeah,
Earth, and then it takes it to another, that kind of bumped that up,
yeah,
um, and then yeah, just now the craziness that Invincible's dealing with, as he's kind of learning to be, a superhero and learning about its powers. Yeah, it was, um,
yeah.
yeah, it was a pretty fast moving series, and then it was like, wow, they just hit another level. They hit another gear when, um, you find out. Yeah,
And the comic book, it doesn't stop. I swear. It's like just when you think that it can't get any worse, it does.
yeah,
Like
right.
it's like what? It's just
Yeah,
it's
yeah. I
crazy.
don't know. I
Like
don't know if I could read. I don't know if I could read this. Like if you were reading it monthly, I would think that you would like be at such cliffhangers or like what happens next. Like
yeah,
you'd be. It wouldn't have been a
you're
fun
like
read if you
losing
were
your
reading it
mind.
monthly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, every now and then there's like a break, like a pause or whatever. But again, it continues and it ratchets up. So it's it's I understand why people like it so much, like the series, just because it like Kirkman did an amazing job. Um, it's like to think that he did that and like Walking Dead and other stuff, it's like insane, insane.
What was the other
Oh,
show that I'm thinking? Oh, the Blue Falcon, right? That was one of the Hanna-Barbera's
yeah,
shows.
with Dynamite, right?
Right, Dynamite. Right, right.
Yeah. Um, I don't I don't remember it very well, but I'm absolutely sure because I can still picture like some of the images in my head of that animated series, but I don't
Right.
remember it very well.
Magilla Gorilla, right? How much is the gorilla in the window?
Hong Kong Fooey. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
like
So many.
Captain
Yeah.
Caveman. Oh yeah, it's like this is great. Like all the people like throwing in like
Yeah.
um
Hong Kong Fooey. Man, there's so many different shows. Yeah, starting, like I remember first watching, as like really, really being young, it was, Sesame Street and the Electric Company. And then, once you discover cartoons, it was like almost you couldn't turn back.
yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, everybody throwing out Laugh
Laugh
Olympics.
Olympics.
Yeah. Yeah, and Roscoe is a big collector of all of the cartoon comics as well.
And they are hard to find. Like those Hanna-Barbera ones. Holy cow. They are not well, I mean like I'm a bit of a grade snob. Like I just like to get higher grade stuff.
Sure. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
impossible and grade those things. Like well, in the wild, anyways. It's in like I should stop thinking about trying to find these like comic books um in the wild. Like whenever I go out, it's funny. Like there's certain stuff that like certain 80s stuff that you'll see a lot. And I can't believe that it's like more than 40 years, Brian, from
Yes,
like
I know. I know.
oh
I
man.
saw something. It might have been like somebody posted it on Instagram saying, we're closer to 2050 than we are to uh, Y2K at this point now. Now that we're in
Oh,
July, I was like, wow, that's that's something to think
oh,
about.
yeah, yeah. So like I swear like the 80s just doesn't seem like that far long ago, but it
Right?
is. It's
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
freaking 40 years, man. And so it's like ugh, ugh. I mean, I'm glad I could still find comic books. Like there's a lot of 80s stuff out there, which I think is great. The 70s stuff is definitely like I don't see as much as I used to. And like I haven't really been to a comic book like a real convention like comic books like Heroes Con where there's a lot of dealers set up just for comic books. So it's been a while for me because like the shows now in Toronto are more um for every well less about comic books but more about fandom.
Right. Right.
So you don't
Or pop
see
culture
as
type
many,
stuff. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't really see that many like comic book dealers. So I'd be curious to see how like if I went to Heroes Con and just like watching some of the videos on everybody else, oh my God, I'd be bankrupt by the end of the show because there's so much
Yeah,
like
you
stuff that
definitely need to budget. Yeah, budget. Yeah, and that's you see so many different. You can find golden age, silver age books there, bronze age books. A lot. Unfortunately, a lot of LCSs because have only they're newer shops where they have more modern books in their back stock, and they really don't have a lot of the silver or bronze age
Mm,
books anymore. So, um, yeah, you almost have to go to a show. And I hear Baltimore Comic Con is another smaller than Heroes, but
yeah,
another more comic focused show where there's a lot of good comic book vendors. So
yeah. Like and like I remember last year like a lot of people went to Terrific Con as well too, and that seems to be a pretty good comic book focused convention.
Yeah,
Um,
I went to Terrific a few years ago, and I was only there for a day. And it's much smaller. I think the big draw with that is that it's at a it's at a casino, so it has very good hotel, restaurants, things like that. And if you want
okay.
to gamble, you can gamble outside of comics. Not You don't have to gamble on your comics. You can go actually play blackjack or something else. But yeah, I didn't find it, but this was probably 4 or 5 years ago at this point. I didn't find, I basically within probably 4 or 5 hours was able to go through all of the comic vendors that were there.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So,
okay.
but there are some good. They do have some good creators there as well. They usually
Yeah.
draw, some pretty good artists and writers and stuff. So. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up. Everybody's talking. We got everybody talking about comics. Cartoon Saturday morning shows now. So now we can go. We can go on YouTube and go find our favorite shows and watch them afterwards.
Be careful though, because like some of those memories are best kept as good memories. You don't necessarily want to ruin your childhood memories by watching a show and kind of grimacing at how poorly some of these have aged.
So Cliff asked me, Terrific. I was in Terrificon in probably 22, maybe. I'm trying to think when. Um, but it was they were in the main showroom, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't find it to be. There were a lot of other vendors that were there that were, action toys, pop figures. I think there were some even like craft type, T-shirts and things like that. So, morning, Rob. Rob is up early on the West Coast.
Oh yeah, some of those old cartoons definitely still hold up very well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like you said, that's the thing about going back and revisiting some of them is like, maybe this wasn't as good as I remembered it as a kid, right?
Yeah.
But there are still some,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Let's see. Yes,
Absolutely.
yes, yeah, yeah. And sometimes, like you said, you don't want to go back and spoil those memories by watching it today and finding it. What you remember is maybe it's not so good. But yeah, we're gonna wrap up. Anything you want to mention before we head out about your channel? We kind of previewed your video for this Sunday, so
Yeah.
looking forward to
So
seeing
so
that.
this Sunday is going to be classic comic panels, Spider-Man and Fantastic Four from the 1960s, and at my usual like 5 p.m. on Sunday. And I think the week after that is I haven't done like a comic haul video in a long time, so just and honestly I haven't been buying as much this past year, um, which is a good and a bad thing, I suppose. But I kind of want to do an update on some of the stuff that I picked up in the past few months.
Okay.
So and talk about that. Uh, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and you did a room tour recently too, right? That was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's kind of an underwhelming room tour. Like kind of like a bookshelf and just my stack of boxes in the
Yes,
back and
exactly.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah, like Brian, like some of these like YouTubers that have these just incredible rooms where they have like wonderful displays and everything. I wish I had the space for that, but I'm in trouble enough as it is with that. So,
I know. I've
you
got
know,
I've got my books on a shelf, all short. I switched over to short boxes, but I'm waiting on. I think this week I have a new shipment of some short boxes coming in because I've got piles and I need to basically all of the short boxes I have are basically full at this point. So I need
yeah,
to reorganize, take some time to redistribute out of some of the short boxes. But now the question is, where do I put all the new short boxes? Do I get another
and then
shelving unit? Do I just stack them? Yeah, I gotta figure that out. So
it's a
yeah.
never-ending battle, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the other side of collecting that we don't talk about.
No, no.
And what I think about when I see somebody with a crazy like display and toys, I'm like, it would drive me nuts to have to dust that stuff.
Seriously. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, like all the, action figures and packages, and I'm like, oh, that would drive me crazy.
yeah. Oh, like, or, the big glass display. Like, just nervous about bumping into something and just
Right.
causing like a disaster,
Right. Yeah,
at
you
least
just
with
bump
comic
one
books.
thing and all the, action figures fall down and
Yeah. Or your dog gets into the, like, decides to, oh, there's my new toy. So it's like, yeah. But thanks for having me. Like, this was a
yeah,
lot of
Ralph,
fun.
I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, we were going to
Yeah.
do this before Heroes, and then I had to cancel a show. So I appreciate you being flexible and coming back on. Hopefully, a few people hanging out in the chat today who weren't familiar with your channel will come check your channel out. Like I said, I really enjoy your the Sunday videos and always kind of seeing something that a book or two that I haven't seen before. So it's always enjoy watching your videos. So.
Well, thank you kindly.
Yeah. And thanks everybody to the chat, hanging out in the chat with us this morning. Appreciate everybody being
Yeah.
here, and hopefully have a great rest of your weekend. And we're going to leave you. We'll leave you with a little Saturday morning clip, or a couple clips.
All right.
All right. Take
Okay.
care. Thanks,
Take
everyone.
care, everyone.
It's time you finally joined the team. You can see how much we need you.
Yeah, I guess I was meant to be a member all the time.
I think this is going to be the start of a beautiful friendship.